What is up, guys, and welcome to another episode of Down South Off-Road and Outdoor. Now, I'm super excited about this episode because why? Because Lagatha is finally getting some love. And if you guys have watched any of the installs that I've done on Lagatha, I'm trying to keep this one budget while Kim's gets all the more expensive stuff. Well, one of the budget items I bought was a switch controller from the guys at Voswitch. Now, at first, I loved this switch controller. It came with a whole lot of stuff for the price that I paid. However, after one trip to Windrock, where we did some deep water fording, it shit the bed. So today, we're installing a new switch controller. This is from Auxbeam, and guess what? It's supposed to be waterproof. So now we can finally get all Lagatha's lights working again. Stay tuned. All right, guys, so I've got Lagatha over here at Mike's Fabrication and Refinishing. It's been too long since I've been here. Anything important I come over here and have him do because I just don't trust myself, folks. So we're gonna get this thing hooked up. I'm hoping that we can use all of the pre-existing wires that we've ran for the Voswitch system to hook up the Auxbeam. That's gonna save us a lot of labor. You don't need to watch me run wires. You know where these things are ran on these Jeep JKs. So. All right, Mike is quickly gonna unbox this thing. This is the new RGB 8-gang, so we can change the color of those switches to anything we want.
You got a sticker.
Decals, they're important, folks.
A lot more decals.
And I guess this is gonna be to label those switches. So it's cool that they give you a lot of options. Now, what makes this one different, it's supposed to be waterproof, folks. So it's not gonna shit the bed on me after going through a big puddle in Windrock. So that looks a lot easier.
No rubber seal, but all the circuit boards encapsulated.
So that's why they can call it waterproof, I guess.
We'll see.
Yeah, we will. We will. We'll test this function. So there is the switch. It's actually super thin. So yeah, and it's aluminum, so it's not a plastic switch housing.
Comes with a circuit breaker rather than a fuse.
And you prefer that, don't you?
Well, you don't have to find a new circuit breaker when it pops. You just flip the switch back over.
Gotcha. Sounds good. You guys know with me, the simpler the better.
Nice little mounting rig here.
And we're hoping we can mount this somewhere near where the old one was, but we'll see. And then you've got some braided wire.
Some more mounting brackets. Some more wire.
So guys, this should be everything we need. Oh, zip ties, look at that. Even giving you the zip ties. Yeah, they gave us black ones instead of white. Good call, Auxbeam. That was probably the fastest unboxing you've ever seen, but there it all is. So I'm gonna read these instructions real quick and see if one of these is like a Jeep JK specific mount.
Sorry.
All right, guys, real quick, one of the things I wanna start off and say, while we did get a ton of stuff with the unit, this is the ground wire. So if we're mounting this unit over here, which it kind of looks like where they're mounting it in the instructions, that ground wire is not long enough, nor is this is the power wire too, right?
Well, they're the same length once
Yeah.
they get put together.
So,
But it's not good.
so that wire is not long enough to actually fit across. So what we're probably gonna do is use the power wire that was already here for the Voswitch. Is that what you're thinking?
Most likely, yeah.
So guys, one of the things you can see with this, it has a completely exposed circuit board. I think that's why when I got the Jeep pretty deep in water, you can kind of look in there and see the corrosion, and yeah, it didn't like the water at all. Yeah, you can see that down there. So one big water crossing fried this thing. It's not supposed to happen with the Auxbeam. I can't wait to test it, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
Let's go swimming.
We'll plug it up, dip it, the button.
So guys, one thing about this Auxbeam that we're noticing, it doesn't give you a Jeep JK specific mount like the other switch options did. Those mounted easily to these outside bolts here. The Auxbeam does not, so we're gonna have to kind of make something. So what we're doing is we're loosening this up because we're gonna try to use one of the mounting plates to slide down behind this plastic cover. So this is kind of the mount that it comes with, and we're gonna try to slide that down in there somewhere. So we've got a couple different little mounts that they send with you. So we're gonna take this mount, use it where the ground bolts are, put a washer in between so it doesn't affect anything. And then Mike is gonna drill some holes somewhere here so that this can attach to it. And that's how we're gonna mount it without having to drill into the Jeep or anything like that. All right, so Mike is clamping that first bracket where he wants it so that he can drill the holes to run this mounting. I don't know if anyone else has done this. Maybe we're the first, but if you have an older, well, not an older, but if you have a Jeep JK, this is a perfect solution if you're kind of wondering where to put your new Auxbeam setup.
With all your wires are in there.
Yeah. And if all your wires are already ran for an existing switch panel that shit the bed for you. All right, guys, now we have holes to mount the other bracket to. So that's how we're mounting the flat bracket to the L bracket. And then we're going to try to slide that in there, and it's going to fit right on those ground bolts that you see right here and right there. Since these don't have locking washers, we are running a little bit of Loctite on them. There's a washer right there. So what is that, the blue, red?
Blue Loctite, yeah. It's a medium strength. Because these are what looks like stainless bolts, and if we put red on them, only taking them off, we break them off.
Gotcha. So, and since these are the ground bolts, I think Mike is going to, you're going to be using a different bolt, but then you're also going to put a washer between.
Yeah, I'm going to put a different nut. I'm going to put a thinner nut on them, but I'm going to put a lock washer so it cuts in and still does its job.
So these factory nuts are kind of thick, so we're just going to change those out. So we found a nut. We literally had one. So we're going to use the factory nut in the rear. If you can get it in there, oh, that's going to be tough.
That's going to be the intention.
All right, so that's going to mount just like that, guys. Pretty nice. All right, guys, as Robbie Layton would say, that ain't going nowhere. I do all of our wires for all of my lights were already ran, so you can see those here. So we're gonna try to use all of those wires without having to go through the hassle of rerunning everything. So I showed you the internals of the Voswitch and how everything was covered in rust and corrosion. The reason that's not gonna happen with this is because look at that, everything is sealed and encapsulated, so all your important stuff is inside here, so water shouldn't matter. And we're going to orientate it this way so that any water that gets in should just fall right out of these incoming holes for the wire. So that'll look nice and clean there under the hood. So we've got it mounted up. It's a great spot. It feels nice and tight. Mike is hooking our power wire up now. Again, it's a wire that we already had ran. So Mike, are we going to be putting in the breaker on this side over there?
Yeah, we're going to put in that circuit breaker. That way, if something happens and it kicks the system, you can turn it right back on instead of having to go find a fuse.
Perfect. The Auxbeam has a label for what fuses go to which connections. So if one blows, you know what to replace it with. All right, guys, so what Mike is doing to figure out which wires are which, he has a Milwaukee battery out of one of his tools, and he's hooking those up. Rock lights. So we know these wires control the DCS rock lights. So the Auxbeam is made so that you can just put the wire directly in. You don't have to add a connector to it, but Mike, when it comes to electronics, he's kind of a perfectionist. He wants to solder everything. He doesn't like this cramped together and taped and things like that. So he wants to add some ferrule connectors to the wires. And so I'm guessing that that's what these guys are.
Exactly.
Those are ferrule connectors. And so why would you do that over just sticking the wire in?
It keeps all the wires tight on the end, We'll crimp them, and it's going to keep them all together when you put them in. You don't have any strays jumping across, maybe making a fuse blow or shorting anything out.
Nice.
So instead of just your traditional twisting the wires together and trying to get them in there with all of them in it, you slide this little guy over the wire, and then you have a nice clean end.
Oh, that's
to slide in there, and you can clamp the screw down much tighter without cutting the wire.
Perfect. And that was quick and easy. I mean, so guys, if you're doing this, you might as well take the time to do it right. So where do you order these? Like Amazon would have?
These are actually Amazon. As much as I don't do that, that's where these came from. It's about the only place you'll find them.
But you also kind of need this little guy as well, right? This little.
It comes as a kit.
Oh, nice. So you run your wire up the hole, and you're going to stick it in, and then you've got your set screw that clamps down on it up top. So even your thicker wires fit in there, no problem, guys. What gauge do you think that wire is, if you're guessing?
It's probably 12, I'd say.
We've got those connectors on everything now, so it looks all nice, clean, and pretty. So Mike is just going to be putting those in and clamping them down. We're getting this knocked out. All right, guys, so we're going to put the rigid Radiance pod lights to a 20. We're putting the Rough Country Black Series light bar to a 30. And then we're going to put the amber portions of the light bar and the pod on a 10. And if it ends up being too much and it pops the 10, we'll just move it over to a 20 and then change out the blown fuse. So Auxbeam has a proprietary plug. So we're still, even though I've already got light wires ran, we're still going to have to run this through the firewall. So I'll video Mike doing that real quick.
We're just simply going to take these together.
So this is wire that is already ran through the firewall. So that's the power wire from the Voswitch.
This is the control panel wire.
Yep, gotcha.
That goes inside the vehicle, and since we've already got one pulled, we just tuck it through that grommet.
And so it's right there in your firewall grommet that he's running this through.
And then we come inside and pull it right through.
It's gonna be super easy, just like you said it, right?
Yeah, it's right here already.
So we wanted to run enough down because it's gonna be going up and over to the center. All right, guys, I wanted to show you, once you run that wire, be sure you push that grommet back in there because that's gonna help keep dust, debris, and water out of the Jeep. So just take the time to stick it back in.
This guy will come in along with everybody else. Just run it right around here. And it will plug up to the only spot that it will plug up.
Perfect. I wonder what the extra plug there's for.
That is for this signal wire. This is for ignition signal.
Gotcha.
We have that existing from before, so we don't have to go all the way to the fuse box. But typically you'll put a jumper in the fuse box. Just as the last set has, this set comes with it too. It goes right into place with fuse here. Gives you a power wire out, and it fuses your output and your original source all in itself.
Nice.
And that's how we get switched power, so the Jeep knows, or so the box knows if the Jeep's on or not, to let your items turn on and off.
Just unhook that. So the hope is that we can just mount it up here somewhere. All right. So what we're doing is just pulling it up. Okay. So now I'm just gonna pull a little nicer. Nice. All right, guys, we got the connector. It's one of those connectors that only go one way. So you've got
an arrow here and a groove, and we've got a groove and an arrow.
So you just
line them up. Voila.
And then it screws down. So it's a nice watertight connection. And we're technically hooked up now, right?
As soon as we connect it back to the battery.
Perfect.
Everything's connected with the battery connection.
This was quick and easy, guys. Now, of course, it's not as quick if you don't have everything already ran. But luckily, we did. So I think we're going to try to mount it straight in this plastic. All right. So he's just kind of tucking that wire in. into the plastic.
Taking it right back off as we do it.
It's like the top that he just pushed back on, he's just gonna tuck that wire under. And so we've got plenty of excess there, and we're just gonna tuck that in as well.
And we'll finish the excess once we get it mounted in our exact location.
So we've got 2 holes there. Now we're just gonna run this thing in. Hopefully that holds. Nice. It actually looks cool as shit up there. Now, can I see anything out of my rear view? Maybe?
Yeah.
Nice. All right, now they can see you. YouTube finally sees your face, Mike. Normally it's just your hands. And he's just gonna push that excess wire back in.
And we'll tighten up the hinge and it's good. Gotta put in a circuit breaker and plug it to the battery.
Woo! So guys, looking at the sticker sheet that they send you, you do have lots of different options. So I mean, I'm sure maybe there's a company out there that'll do customs for you, but this should cover the gambit of things that you'd like to put on here. Auxbeam was really smart to provide the breaker because when it flips, all I have to do is reset it. I don't have to pop a fuse box and start looking and things like that. So we're definitely gonna use that breaker over this fuse. Hey guys, and I want to show you the instructions you get with the Auxbeam 8-gang switch panel are actually much better than the instructions you typically get from companies coming overseas. So they have done very, very well with that. And I think they also have QR codes so that you can download those as well. But we didn't use any instructions because Mike knows what the fuck he's doing, folks.
It's okay.
So, Mike, you mentioned another reason to use that circuit breaker over the fuse, and what was it?
Well, it's similar as a fuse, except for this fuse, these larger ones, they have to bolt in, so it's gonna require tools to remove it. But for some people that just play and only get the Jeep out or whatever they're putting it on, you know, here and there, they don't want to worry about a battery draw. This is your set position. You can simply pop the cap off and hit this button and it breaks the circuit breaker. So there's no more draw of any sort if there could be a draw. So the system is essentially completely disconnected.
Perfect.
Until you reset.
So that would have been good for me. While we were gone for 20 days almost, my Jeep sat in the driveway, and so I was actually a little worried that the battery would be dead when I got home. But so this is a way to disconnect it completely so that your Jeep doesn't even know you have all that stuff hooked up. It's not drawing the battery. All right, so the battery lead's going on.
Get our other lead. Do it the same way. Make sure you don't drop your wrench across the battery post or lay anything across them. It'll make for an interesting light show. There might be several things that don't work after.
All right, so now you just reset it. Let's come around and see if we got lights.
We got lights.
All right, so I'm gonna come out here and see if they work when Mike hits the button. I think they do because he already did it. Do our yellows. And that's the light. There's yellow. And yep, so both the yellows are on one. That looks awesome. And oh, so happy to have my DCS lights working again. You can see my grill lights. Heck yeah. Whew. All right. Perfect, I think so. All right guys, so since we're done, we're going ahead and putting the nice clear cover they give you to keep this thing protected as well, so there's no accidental presses or resets.
Tuck them in.
And nice. That is beautiful, guys. I love where you found to mount that. I mean, it's right where I needed it to be, and now we've still got plenty of room. Right now, what I wanted to show is just how easy it is. If she'll pan up to the Auxbeam controller, You'll see that right now it's red, and I'm gonna I can change it to green, blue, yellow. I'm probably gonna run yellow, I don't know, purple. You've got white. So then this color wheel, I think I can just move around this color wheel, and I can find, if I wanted to, a nice orange. Since Lagoth is orange, maybe we go with something like that. And what it does is it just mixes the color of those LEDs it has back. I know a lot of people with OCD would hate that I didn't put it in the center, but my train of thought was, I'm the driver. I want to be able to reach it easier. So it is more to my side. Now, of course, you could mount it and center it up with that Jeep logo in the windshield, but I wanted it to be closer to me, still out of the way of my visor. So very, very easy install, super clean. I like the way it sits there. I am gonna look for some custom stickers so that they don't just say like roof light, because I gotta have more personality than that. So I'm looking for one that says like butt light, but we'll see if we find those. But this thing has so many more functions. I'm gonna keep you guys posted how it does. So I just turned this one on, the first one, and it is my light bar. So I'm just gonna come right down here and click, get that light bar one and stick that on. Fortunately, I can't film me sticking the sticker on because I only have my hand. So hold on 1 second. I got my 4 stickers on, I'm gonna be honest, that one's a little fucked, but I don't have my pocket knife on me and I can't get it off. So here are the 4 that I have hooked up right now. So that means I've got these 4 lights shining in my face. Luckily, they give you these blackout covers here to cover up the ones that you're not using. So I'm gonna get those stuck on real quick. I got my 4 blackout stickers put on, and as you can see, you do get better at putting those button covers on as you go. At first, it was a pain in the ass, and you can see I'm all messed up here, and I can't peel it off. But as you do it, you get better. You start getting it way more centered. So with those blackouts on there, hardly any light comes through at all. And again, I can change the color of this light to just fit my mood. So this is such a neat setup. And the cool thing is, like, if I turn my light bar on and then turn my light cubes on and maybe my underglow, and that's how I'm gonna ride all the time or whatever, then I can just hit this master button, all of them go off, and then as soon as I hit that master or that on, all of them come back on. So that's kind of cool. I really like that. I didn't have that function in my switch pod before. So let's talk about some of the other stuff that it does that I haven't done yet. So guys, another thing that's really, really cool is you can assign, in the app, you can assign different settings for each switch. So what I mean by that is they have actually 3 lighting modes for you to choose from. You can do toggle, momentary, or pulsed. And so what I really think is cool about that momentary, if you set something up for that, that means as long as you're pressing the button, it's on, and as soon as you release, it's off. So that could be a super cool little feature that, again, I haven't seen on any of the others. So you can, if you get into the app, you can actually assign a picture of what light it's controlling or what it's controlling, and that's what you'll see on your phone. Overall, I think the RGB 8-gang system was packaged very well. It came with a lot of extra hardware, a couple different mounting brackets for different applications. I do wish there would have been a set of instructions for JK or a panel, a mount that was just for JK, but I understand why there wasn't. As far as how it looks in here, I absolutely love it. I think it's the cutest little thing ever. It's got a very, very small form to it, so it doesn't take up a whole lot of space. I can loosen it and angle this thing down or up however I need it. And once you get the stickers on there, it looks really good. You know, I was a little scared when I just saw the white checkerboard, but once the button covers are on there, it actually looks really, really sleek. So I think I'm going to be a lot happier, and I'm definitely going to be happier if it's waterproof and doesn't fry out in, 4 months. All right, guys, as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell, and I'll see you next time.